So, Punk is doing so well. I mean, you must be really happy about it.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy, and it's very fulfilling because I started from a point of absolutely not knowing what I was doing because it was such an impulsive thing to do, punk. It was very brave. Now I realize, looking back, that it's a very brave step for someone like me to kind of literally open up my world and my life and my inner space to the audience outside because since a child I've always been very conscious about a camera presence, me being certain kind in front of people because I kind of grew up under the microscope being Baba's daughter. So I was always very guarded and uptight and all that. So for me to kind of absolutely open up in a very authentic, sometimes vulnerable way in front of the camera for the audience was somewhat unnerving at times. But I'm glad that people connected, and first of all, I'm glad that I think it has been a catharsis in so many ways. It has been really, really healing. Because now I realize it's not easy for a child to be in front of the camera all the time. And there was so much that I was carrying within me, so it was healing that way. And also, I'm very glad that the audience, especially the younger generation, who feel the pressure, feel the demands, the pressure to perform, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to be, always using 15 filters to look exactly like, the parameters. I think it's also in a way, it's also relaxing and healing for them to see someone who they have seen mostly on screen come across as a very flawed, normal, human, um, clumsy, messy, uh, just a normal person. I think it also, uh, especially for a classical musician, I think we have always kept that those parameters of being proper and being um, the divinity in music sometimes kind of reflects on the person. We are not divine, we are just normal. So I think that breaks certain um, stereotypes which have been heavy on the younger generation. So I'm glad that it's communicating and it's talking to people.
Perfect. And I'm going to now start the recording. So I'll sort of do a small introduction and then we'll get started. So, and then it's a free-flowing conversation. Feel free to ask me any questions. Feel free. At the end of it, we'll stop. It'll just take a couple of seconds to upload. At that stage, you can tell me if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable. I'll edit it off. Right, cool.
I've done punk,
So,
so I'm comfortable with anything.
so after punk, there is no filter needed. Okay, all right.
I'm
Uh,
comfortable after punk.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Abhijit Bhaduri, and I work in the area of talent management. You know, when we talk about talent, we usually do land up talking a lot about the corporate world. And I think the corporate world is beginning to look more and more like the performing arts, the creative field, where, performances vary. Somebody could be an amazing performer today and do something really terrible the next day and then bounce back. I mean, so this whole process in the corporate world, I think we have a lot to learn from, the musicians. And today, therefore, I have somebody with me, let me just start by saying the way I see my guest today is she's a person who is someone who bridges heritage and modernity in a very, very unusual fashion. She's been much awarded, one of the youngest awardees of the BBC Music Award, as well as the youngest awardee of the Sangeet Natak Academy Award. Both, incredible achievements by itself, if you think, but also has performed in all the places that a musician dreams of performing, whether it's Carnegie Hall or any of the other venues. And she's been doing it. not from now, but from the time when she was 7, when she gave her first performance. Um, I just realized it's a pretty long introduction, and I think the easiest thing to do is to actually just talk to the person. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am so delighted to present to you the one and only Kaushiki Chakraborty. Kaushiki, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's wonderful to be chatting with you. Thank you for having
Uh,
me.
no, it's, and do you agree that we have a lot to learn in the corporate world from just the way the creative artists lead their life? I mean, there is no certainty of employment, so to say. You find
Mhm.
your own niche. You pretty much reinvent yourself periodically. If you do the same thing that your gharana did, then people say, "Oh, that's just because she's out there. There's nothing new." If you do something radically different, you say you're letting down the gharana. Is
Yeah,
it
that's
very
right.
hard to be like that?
It is an interesting place to be as I would see. And I think with the changing times, it's becoming more and more interesting because I can only imagine 2, 3 generations back, gharanas were not a choice, but kind of a compulsion because you didn't have any other exposure. Staying, living in Gwalior, you wouldn't know what is happening in Punjab. And living in Punjab, you wouldn't know what is happening in Kerala. So, bridging those gaps were very, very difficult because you had no idea what the other person is doing. And that's where the Gharana concept came from because apne ghar mein jo hota hai, that's the only thing that you know. So I think with the changing times, as connectivities are becoming more and more easy, and now it's not even, I mean, we don't even discuss about connectivities because that's one thing taken care of. So now I think exploration, experimentation, and not only exploring the outer space, I think exploring the inner space as well, with all the knowledge and information that we are gathering from all over the world, from all kinds of works of life. I think exploration and experimentation is becoming an obvious thing. It's not like a few people are doing it, but of course everyone has. I think that's where it becomes more crucial that everyone has their own way to explore their art forms, their lives, their paths. And I think that is where we differ. That is where we are kind of creating our own league and own legacy. Because for some people, exploration would mean, you know, talking to the Western world, especially from music. I mean, collaborations, international collaborations, Indian music with Western music. For some, it is exploring within your craft and to kind of reinvent your identity and to find a broader sky to kind of fly into. Because, we we start from a place where we love definitions. And as a child, I remember, I would want to be an Indian classical vocalist because that's the definition that I was aiming for. But once you kind of become comfortable within that definition and you find your identity, then you want to move on to kind of exploring within your space and find out that is this all, or do you want something else? Do you want something more to be added to the sky that you're exploring into? So I think it is um, all kinds of perspectives to life. I think it's meeting in a beautiful way in the present time, and I think that's why it's a very, very interesting time.
You almost, were born into an environment where music was given. You lived in the Sangeet Research Academy in Kolkata. You grew up there. Your father, Pandit Ajay Chakraborty, and your mother, they're both amazing performers. And was it that, like other kids would say, that someday you want to be an ice cream seller, another day you want to be a doctor, third day you want to be a pilot? Did you have those kind of options, or was it always only music, 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 and that's it?
Yeah, those were luxuries I never thought was possible. I mean, it was, and now now it's funny that it feels like I'm living my childhood all over again because now I remember that, I wanted to be a photographer, I wanted to be a lawyer, all those things I wanted. But it was at that time, it was, I don't know, maybe it will be a kind of a generalization to say that at that time it was not normal. But I think in the kind of family that I was born into, it was not normal for someone to kind of have such diverse, interests in life, and to kind of to be able to pursue it even a little bit. Like, buying a camera would mean waste of money. I mean, you rather buy a musical instrument and try to learn it because that kind of fits into the scheme of things that's given to me as a child. So I think becoming a musician was so ingrained in my thought process, not even consciously. It started before I was conscious about who I am. So how I started seeing my life was so much already been given to me by the environment. Of course, my parents, but because you mentioned Sangeet Research Academy, the likes of Girja Devi ji, Bilal Khan Saab, Rashid Khan Saab, Ullas Kashalkar ji, like all the doyens and the legends of music, E.T. Kanan, Nisar Hussain Khan Saab. So all were there, and they were my neighbors. They were my family. They were the next door neighbors. So I would wake up in the morning, and the entire campus of Sangeet Research Academy would resonate with different pitch of tanpura and different voices singing. So I didn't even know that what were the other kids doing first thing in the morning if they were not sitting with the tanpura and practicing. So my life was so organized before I could, mess it up myself, that it was very linear. It was very focused. It was very, in a way, restrictive, I would say, now looking at my son who's 16 and the kind of interests that he has. So it was very restrictive. I was not allowed to do a lot of things. Um, but also I think it had its own benefits, because that focus, that uh, you know um, it also has an impact on the concentration, on the focus, on the choice of things that you do and you don't do, in the way you live life. If that goal is given to you, goal as in the purpose, if the purpose is given to you and you kind of align everything that you do and you don't do according to that purpose, I think that has its own benefits, because I see a lot of distraction, and as a parent it's sometimes unnerving to see, oh my God, every fortnight there's a new thing that he wants to do. And I'm like, oh, really? So you only have 24 hours. So I think it also comes from a conditioning, which, I mean, I don't know right or wrong, but yeah, that's how my childhood was. It was very focused. And before I chose music, I think music had already chosen me. So my life was already being uh, driven in a direction which was very clearly going towards music and nothing else.
Sometimes I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the um, children who started their life, as a child artist and then grew up to be stars. I mean, and most of them actually did not become stars in the way the kind of recognition that they got earlier. And they sort of, it was a transition to a very different kind of a life. You are one of the rare people who was a child artist who was a star at 7, who is now still a star, a bigger star in that sense. Um,
I also plays a very important role. It's not only hard work, it's not only your perseverance, it's not only what you do, but I think a lot of luck factor, a lot of timing uh, plays a very, very crucial and important role in life.
Tell me more about luck and timing. How did it
Uh,
impact your life?
Yeah, I mean, because I was born into this family, so my exposure to this world, which is being a certain kind, carrying yourself a certain way, being on stage very early. Like, if you're a 20-year-old and you are going on a big stage for the first time, it's understood and it's given that you will not be able to give your best, because you'll be nervous, there'll be stage fright and all that consciousness and all that tightness in your muscles, in your voice. You'll not be able to breathe properly, because that's the first time you're going onto a stage where there's, thousands of people in front of you. But as a child, when Baba used to go on stage, I would be on stage as a maybe 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old, not doing anything significant, but how the audience looks from the stage, how it feels to be on a part of the spotlight and to carry yourself certain way. Those trainings, we sometimes don't understand how crucial they are, because um, when you go on stage as a total beginner and a first timer on stage, how a full house of, be it a 500 people or a 5,000 people or a 10,000, 20,000 people, how the audience looks from the stage, that perspective, that 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 becoming slightly comfortable and used to that perspective, and then to be on stage and then to see people around you who are your family, who are your very close associates, you sit and chat with them, and then suddenly when they come on stage, how the persona changes, how they start presenting themselves a certain way, how they are not just the people, they are representative of their craft, and how they carry themselves, how they present the craft, how they talk. I think a subconscious mind, a child's brain, like a sponge, it takes all of it in. And then you consciously don't have to train yourself. You are somewhat trained to be there. Your subconscious has already kind of started preparing you to be there. And then it's only your craft that you have to take care of. You don't have to take care of all the peripheral pressures that sometimes can be too heavy on you and kind of supersede, uh, the quality of art that you otherwise would have been able to present in front of the audience. Being comfortable with the camera, being comfortable with talking to strangers, and being comfortable in the presence of unknown people. I think these are very important lessons that one learns when they are in the environment. And talking about luck, I think I performed in Pune, one of my most favorite audiences for my classical music performances so far. I performed there first time when I was 20, and I remember as if Pune did not even listen to me. I mean, there was a performance, people came, but nothing happened. No feedback came. I did not even realize whether they liked my music, they didn't like my music. I had no idea. And then 6 years down the line, 2006, I go to perform for Savai Gandharv because, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi ji, he called me and he said, Kaushiki, you have to come and perform this year. I said, of course, I mean, your wish is my command. So I went and performed. And this is like a 20,000 audience. And I mean, you have to understand, this was the first time I'm facing a 20,000 audience. And this is a city that matters a lot to me, to any classical musician. That city is like a benchmark. It's like an acid test that if you have survived there, you're good to go. And then I remember that 6 years back, I came there and nothing happened. Like nobody responded to my music. I didn't get any feedback. But something happened in that concert. I was unwell, I had fever, all that. Um, but something happened on that day that Pune became my second home. And, I always consider myself a part Maharashtrian because of the love that I've got and the confidence that Maharashtra and Pune in the beginning had given me. And they, in their own way, said that, we are with you. You get on with your journey. So that timing, those 6 years, I don't know what changed in those 6 years, but that time had a magic in it, in itself, which only happens when you're very, very lucky, because I couldn't have done anything for that magic to happen.
What did you sing that day? It was such a powerful thing.
I sang Rageshri, and I remember I was given 45 minutes. I sang straight through Rageshri for 45 minutes. And then I was about to leave, and that entire audience stood up, and I'm still having goosebumps. They, all of them, like when I went on stage, my performance was between Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma ji and Pandit Jasraj ji, because Shivji had a documentary shoot, so he had to perform before, and I was shattered. I was thinking, oh my God, who will listen to me between these two giant musicians? I'm just going to be the patty of the the burger, because I will be smashed. And that's exactly what happened. I went on stage, I saw people going out because it was a tea break for them. So they were all going out in hundreds. And I'm thinking, oh my God, first of all, I'm not well, I'm coughing and all that. And then Shivji's that magical performance just ended, and Jasraj is about to come on stage. I'm just a break in between. So I started singing, and 10 minutes down the line, I think double the amount of people started coming in. And I don't know what happened. People just came in, and it it was such a huge audience, but it felt like I'm singing for a cozy, like a 10, 15 people. I was feeling a personal bond with each one of them there. And then I sang for 45 minutes, and I was about to leave the stage. And the entire audience stood up, and they started clapping. They started saying, no, 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 you have to sing more. And I remember Bhimsenji's son, Srinivas ji, he came on stage and he said, if you leave now, they will kill me. So sing more. You want to sing? Sing more. So I sang a thumri, I sang a bhajan. I remember a Pahadi thumri and Ganesh Vandana I sang. And I sang for about more than an hour. And and it happened such that, after that concert, every 2 weeks I was back in Pune, singing in small circles, singing in small concerts. But that love and that, 3 hours, 4 hours concerts, they would give me, for my this rag you sing, that bandesh you sing, bhajapta. And that's a magical audience. I mean, I can't speak more about it. And then Pune became like, my identity that, and I'm a non-Maharashtrian, and Maharashtra has had uh, such amazing singers, especially that they don't
Sure.
really have to consider anybody outside of Maharashtra when it comes to classical singing. But still, the fact remains that they have embraced me, loved me, and made me one of them. It really humbles me.
Can we get a glimpse of that Thumri that you sang, or Rageshri? Anything? I mean, just
Okay. Um, राग संग रागिनी राग संग रागिनी मिल मंगल गाए दे दे कर तारी दे कर तारी नच नच रंग रचाए राग संग रागिनी राग संग रागिनी. That is a youth Ektal Bandish in Rageshri. And the Thumri, mm, I think I sang Rangi Sari. Ah, ah, रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे रंगी सारी गुलाबी चुनरिया रे मोहे मारे नजरिया सावरिया है मोहे मारे नजरिया सावरिया. Thank you so
my
much.
God, you're just absolutely incredible. I've been intrigued when you describe yourself. Very often you sort of say that um, you're a singer, performer, educator, entrepreneur, producer, creative person. A lot of that, besides, of course, the many other roles of being a parent, spouse, and all of that, daughter. Which is the toughest?
Uh, I think the toughest is to balance all of it. And I think the toughest is to be the mother.
Because your
So
son,
being it's
it,
toughest is being me. Because it's balancing all of it. And I think every role demands a lot of you. And that is the most difficult thing, that how much of you will you give to each role in a given point in time, and to balance, like it's a constant tango. Sometimes some things on the surface and some things kind of underlying, and sometimes you just have to kind of make the circles and bring the other role out, and then carry it with all the responsibility, dignity, uh, poise, and all that it demands. And being a mother is a very, very tough role because um, I think uh, it is toughest because I cannot do it the way it happened when I was on the other side of the table. So I'm having to reinvent uh, a way, a kind of churn within myself to find a way to mother my child, because times have changed radically, people have changed, how I grew up and what I was allowed to do, not allowed to do, inspired to do, encouraged to do, and not encouraged to do. I don't want to exactly do it that way for my son. So, and we always want to be, our inherent need is to be correct. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's an inherent need. I have to be correct. But when you don't have an example, when you don't have a tried and tested method, you don't know whether you're doing it correct or not. So I think a lot of self-talk has to happen, a lot of kind of conflicts happen within myself when I want to uh, parent my son a certain way. So I think both me and Partho, we kind of, I think that's the toughest role for us.
Yeah, and I remember in some context we were talking about your son and I share the same birthday. So 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 that's another thing. When you look at and let me actually talk about something that I was just thinking about right now as you were speaking. I wrote a book called Career 3.0, where when I was writing that there are three archetypes. Well, Career 1.0 is you start, you kind of in one ecosystem, and that's your entire life. And I actually had you in my mind when I was thinking about that. Here's somebody who's born into that ecosystem, and you've played in that ecosystem. You've absolutely, needless to say, done really well at that and become a role model in that. Career 2.0 is when you do a side gig with in a very different ecosystem. For example, Palash Sen is a doctor and he's a singer. So, Palash, these two ecosystems, when he balances, one does not give him an advantage in the other. So that's career 2.0. And career 3.0 is where you are juggling a whole range of things, different ecosystems. So one could be music, one could be another aspect as a creator. You're a producer of Punk, which is the web series and all that. And I was thinking that if I had to do a second edition, I think I should have you not in career 1.0, but in career 3.0 as a person who's juggling so many ecosystems with so many different skills.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
thinking that I'm very late. In my opinion, it's very late. I think I should have done it at least 7, 8, 10 years back. At least started doing it. But I think um, I was happy in that space when I was there, and I'm very grateful that now that I'm starting to do a lot of things. I think it also took me a lot of mental preparation that took the time. It was not actually doing the job that took the time. I think preparing myself to look at me as not one thing, but a lot of things that I have been living within myself, but I was still waiting for an expression for those things. I think that courage, I think that comfort and courage took the time. But I'm so glad.
I've not seen another person do an autobiography as a web series, so it's certainly new for me. I'm not sure whether you have any other, benchmarks that you looked at, but why did you want to do it now? What was it?
I would say that I when we started thinking about punk, because me and Shantuda, we started thinking about it together. Because to start with, I was just thinking of doing an album. Even before that, I thought I will do a single because I was just missing that space of doing Lagi Lagi, how we did it so many years back. So I thought,
That was the Coke Studio performance, and it is an incredible performance out there, truly magical.
it was
So
the first time actually I collaborated with Shantanu and Swanand on this song. And then I was missing that. I wanted to bring back that magic. So an experience, go through that process once again. So I spoke to Shantanu and said that, can we start working on a single? He said, yeah, of course. Then that single went on to a discussion where we were discussing an album. And this is, you have to understand, this is almost 3.5 years back. And then the album, then we started thinking, Shantanu started asking, why do you want to do an album? And I think that got the ball rolling, that why do I want to do an album? He asked me that, you're singing every day, you're singing songs every day. Then why do you want to do an album? What is it that you want to sing? What is it that you want to say? What is it that you have to, offer that you haven't done, or that you are not doing every day? Because you're singing every day. It's not something new to you. So what makes you exciting? What makes this exciting for you? So then I started thinking, what is it that I want to say? And I think deep down, I wanted to say so much which I had never spoken about, which was me, which was not what I had learned, what I had practiced, what I could sing, what my repertoire was, not all of that. It was just who I am, and how who I am can also be sung. Not only what I've learned. I mean, what I've learned, of course, can be sung, and I have been singing it all my life. But deep down, I thought who I am is also a song that can be sung. And that song might not be a song that everyone is expecting. That song might not be a song that is like some other song. That might not be, you know, uh, technical, skillful, perfect, flashy. That might be very mundane, because sometimes who I am is very mundane. Um, and sometimes who I am is a child. Sometimes who I am is is a very introspecting person. So, who I am, that eternal question of who I am, I think that uh, as I started delving more deep into that question, I think punk started evolving. And that is why it became a little autobiographical, not because, I was planning to do an autobiography. I don't really think that, you know, it's that kind of a life that I've lived, which is like, oh my God, nobody has lived a life like this. It's not like that. It's just, uh, rather than looking out, it's looking inside to find that song that I want to sing. It's not information based, it's not input based. It's it's reaching very, very, very deep within myself to find the song that I am. I think that's where punk came from.
to me, when I looked at it, when I see all the six episodes, they were absolutely phenomenal. And I kind of thought that it was a sense-making process. You kind of connect the different elements. You growing up, your relationship with your dad, who's a guru and a dad. So sometimes the guru overtakes the dad part of it, and so that you kind of leaves you thinking.
Baba is a guru and a dad, but Baba is easy. He's not easy as a guru or a dad. He's neither a easy dad. He's neither a easy guru. So it's very, very multi-layered, and still there's so much love that uh, that he and me. I think we both had music to express to each other. We had no other tool because we didn't know. Uh, and all that we didn't know and we could only share through music. I think later on, when I became a parent, I thought, okay, music is, of course, is going to be a thread that's going to bind me and my son. But what about the other threads? What about keeping that aside and also developing that mother and child and that equal human being kind of a dynamics that, there's so much to learn from him and there's so much to learn from me, vice versa. So I think every episode, as we would call it, because we're talking in context of punk, but I think every facet is interconnected. One
Yeah.
makes the other make sense. So I think it's in a way it's my personal journey, but also I think now that I speak to so many people, especially youngsters, young musicians, young students, I think it is becoming also very universal because so many people are going through the same things, and somehow in punk they're finding a context, and maybe they're thinking that okay, this is how it feels at this moment. Maybe 10 years down the line, when we look back, it will going to look different because it always changes. I mean, as we grow up, um, I think the mirror in which we see ourselves, that keeps on changing. And that's why we start looking different. We don't become a different person. I think the mirror changes with experience, with life lessons, with exposure, with going deeper within yourself and finding more meaning to life. I think everything that you look at changes its perspective.
And I also think that, when you put these things together, you talk about it, it also connects, not just for you, and as you said, people begin to find the resonance about the same things in their lives, and your journey could be completely different, but it resonates. And I think that's the beauty of this entire thing. But if you were to, you were saying that with your dad, the music was the common language. If you had to describe yourself as a rag and your dad as a rag, which one would you say is best described? You know, which rag would say describes you?
I would say when Baba is a guru, Baba is very Marwa and Shri and that kind of a rag. But when Baba is Baba now, I think Baba is very Jajavanti for some reason. He's very warm, very kind of embracing. He can kind of hold you together, but he also has his own place where he anchors. And that, in a way, becomes your support. In all that warmth, you also find a very strong anchor. I think that's my feeling. Oh my God, this is such a beautiful question. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's so many layers to this. Yeah, so I think he will still be very Marwa and Shri for me if when I learn from him, when I sit and there's a talim
What
situation.
would that sound like? Sing it to me the way you would sing it.
Uh, That's Shri. That's very, if I have to personify Shri, I think it depicts the form of Shiva to me in a very weird way, in a very abstract way, but it's very Shiva for me. And that's what Baba is when he's a guru. He's the absolute. He's all there. I mean, it's not out there. He's within me. When I sing, I think I also sing a part of him. So that's how I would think of Shri. But yeah, when he's a dad, now he's a far more amiable dad. With age, with time, with me growing up and becoming a parent, I think uh, Baba has become much more softer, understanding, listens more. Things change. I mean, you're a dad, you would know that. You know how sometimes, in a phase of life, you're a very different dad, and in a different phase, you become a very different dad. So yeah, that's what Baba is at the moment. So yeah, that's how that Shri has come to a softer point,
Jai Javanti.
like a Jajavanti. Yes.
What would that sound like today?
Um, uh, no. No.
Wow. And which rag would you say you are?
That also has changed a lot, I would say. I was very structured, very you know, rule oriented, very right and wrong, very uh, perfection oriented, structured. So that has also become a very different rag with the changing times. So I would say now, uh, if I had started uh, as something like a, maybe I would say what? Something like a Bhupali. I think that has come to a point where I'm more Maru Bihag.
Oh, wow. I would have thought you would have said Desh for now.
Desh also, but I'm also not only, Desh is a very Uttarang rag, which is a very high energy rag. I'm not always very high energy. I sometimes I am, but I'm also sometimes, I love solitude at times. I come across as a very, very talkative, very bubbly person, uh, which I am. But at times I love silences. So I think Maru Bihag has that beautiful, bright character, but also it has its own uh, cocoon where it comes back, which is the Shuddha Madhyam, Tivra Madhyam, Pancham, that space. It's the nucleus of the rag. And it wherever it goes, it's a very romantic, very uh, you know, uh, expressive, connecting rag, but it tends to come back to that cocoon. So I think it's in that way. Of course, rags are very abstract. You can see it in different ways, in different times. But at this moment, I think Maru Bihag is is very me. And it's also very amiable. It doesn't, it doesn't detach itself. It's ready to play along with you. I think that's what I'm becoming more and more in life. I think with life, I'm more open to do the tango.
Well, sing to me the Maru Bihag that Kaushiki is today.
Bihag, yeah, the Maru Bihag that Kaushiki is. um, uh, Ta- ta- ra- ta-
My word. There are two very beautiful Hindi film songs, Payal Wali Dekhna, Kishore Kumar's brilliant performance, which is in Maru Bihag, and also Yashoda Singh's Main Gata Tu So Jata, so it's just such a beautiful rag. Um,
So
Kaushiki,
just
I'm going to,
a beautiful blend of Bihag and Maru Bihag, I think. Ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra. This is a very Bihag phrase, and then it goes to Maru Bihag. It's just some of these songs are just, magical creations. Lovely.
you do a lot of judging of reality TV where people are singing, and that's really nice. And, it encourages people to uh, sort of have you as a judge and get feedback and learn from you and all of that. Um, how have you changed the way that you teach versus the way that you learned? Because I also see you as fairly tech savvy, social media savvy. You're teaching on Insta as well, and all of that. I mean, so how have you, if you were to describe that, maybe talk about it in the context of teaching your son. How is
Yeah,
that
I mean,
different?
actually, my interest in teaching started with Rishit because when he started taking interest, when we kind of figured out that, he has music in him, and we started kind of experimenting, how far he wants to do and how far he's capable of doing, what his aptitudes are. I think that's when I got interested in teaching other kids because I realized that, uh, um, I'm sure he's not the only gifted child. I should be if I'm making myself available, if I'm giving him the time, I also should, help a few other youngsters, a few other kids who are equally gifted or even more, to kind of find their interest. And I realized that in today's time, I think teaching, more than teaching, learning can happen when uh, when you become an accessible person, when you open up the friendship door, and when it is not command based, when it is not only, I'm telling you and you just repeat it, and I'm the God and you are the no one. Uh, it doesn't work that way because these kids are a part of a world where they are not being told that you can't do it. It's a world where we are everything around us is telling us that if you want to do this you can do it. And in that world, a certain kind of music and a certain kind of music teacher coming and telling you this is something that I can do and you can't do, it instantly puts them off and cuts the communication, the possibility for any further communication to happen. It just stops it there. So I realized the more I say what all I can do, it will distance him from the music. Forget me. His distance from me or any student's distance from a teacher we can handle. But if a gifted child, musically gifted child, is being distanced from the craft that he or she is gifted with, that's a real loss. And just because of the medium and the language and the mode of teaching, if that is responsible for that, then we should change the mode. And then it becomes a conversation, then it becomes a communication where we both can tell each other that this is interesting. Do you want to try this? And that other person also can say that, okay, I also find this interesting. Do you want to try this? So these things, I think it started happening, that rewiring of how to teach a kid started happening the more I started communicating with Rishit as a student, not just as a son, but as a student. I started realizing, uh, that sometimes some encouragement is nice. Sometimes saying that, okay, this is very nice that you've done, something that I've never heard. Because that time was such that,
Yeah.
parents and teachers would think that you more you appreciate the student, they will lose the drive and the hunger to do better. They will think, okay, I'm good enough. Why do I have to do more? So that is why they postponed the validation. They thought, okay, let her do little more, little better, then we will give her the nod. And that nod sometimes never happened. But as much as I appreciate that in me, that I still want, I still crave for that nod from Baba when I sit for my practice in my room alone where Baba is not even there. I'm working on myself, but I'm always thinking that Baba would like this better. So that I'm wired like that. But I cannot expect that to happen with my next generation. I think they feel more inspired to do when I say, this is very good, but try this and come back to me with what problems you're facing, and then we will solve it together. So that kind of education, I think, works better with this generation because they are open to a far more non-judgmental world where they are accepted more and they are appreciated for who they are. And then if a certain kind of music training comes with those judgments and those parameters of, you have to be good enough for me to say that, okay, this was okay. I think that is not going to take this too far. Of course, there will come a point where he only will realize that, I'm not good enough. I have to do more. Though my teacher or my mother is saying I'm good, but this is what I've heard somebody sing, or this is what I imagined, but my voice is still not ready to do that. So let's work on that. I think this positive reassurance is going to help them reach there. And then they will realize that there's so much more to do, and the drive will come from within. And I'm hoping for that to happen.
Of course, of course, of course. But what if he decided to, take up a job in some organization? Would you be
That's,
disappointed?
no, 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 not at all. I think I'm at a point in life, and when I say in terms of in the perspective of parenting, I think both me and Partho, we are at a point in life where I think what the only thing that we want him to achieve in life is happiness, being him. He has to be happy being him. So if he is happy doing a job and finds his happiness there, and can balance every other aspect of life with that job at the center of it or somewhere in it in the perspective, and that makes him happy, that gives him a balanced life, that makes him look forward to every day when he gets up in the morning. I think that's enough achievement for a life.
Are you happy in the life that you lead as a performer, as so many things with all the adulation and everything?
I thrive on inspiration. Every morning I have to get up and I think, okay, I want to do this today. I mean, it can be cooking something. It doesn't have to be always singing and performing and looking forward to a concert. It can be a new recipe that I want to try. And you have to, I mean, this is on records. I'm a very good cook.
Yes, I know. I remember when when we met in Seattle, you told me that you are a much better cook than a singer, and I said,
One. I'm a more confident cook than a singer. I go on stage underconfident, but I enter my kitchen super confident. So
"Hmm,
yeah, so I'm very, very inspired. Anything like if I have to design an outfit, I will do it with so much passion, like I'm a dress designer for that day. I have to cook something, I'm super inspired. I'm a very, very driven person. Like I get up every morning super energized and super interested in something that happens in that moment in the morning. And I just go on with the day with that kind of energy. And of course, on a performance day, that's also a very, very important day. That's a different high. And now with punk performances, it's the same stage, it's the same person, but I feel like a fresher. I feel like a beginner because the content that I'm singing, the mode of presentation, and uh, you know, the entire storytelling, the entire narrative, the entire connecting life with music, that entire perspective is so new, and it gives me so much inspiration. I plan things in my head since the morning. I kind of bring myself to a point where I'm so into that headspace where I'm that Kaushiki who's punk. And then next week I have a concert, or maybe in 3, 4 days I have a concert which is a classical concert. That's a very different headspace. So it's incredibly energizing and inspiring. And I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I'm supremely inspired and supremely um, humbled and grateful that, a journey of life that I started from an absolute place of I don't know, I'm just learning, and I'm part of an ecosystem, as you rightly said, that music was an obvious choice. From there to come here, where every aspect of life, I talk about photography because I love to take photos. So my holidays are, most of them are in the mountains. So I love mountains. I love nature. Me and Rishit, we both love to, check constellations and read about black holes and all that. That's one big passion we have. Me, Rishit, and Partho, we are absolute nature lovers and wildlife lovers. So we go to jungles to see tigers and just be in the silence of the forest. So everything um, about the life that we've been given, it feels like a blessing, and it's absolutely humbling.
In college, we used to have a phrase for a person like this, and we used to say that they're what is called an enthu cutlet. The enthu cutlet part of it is, so you are that enthu cutlet completely.
Cutlet. I'm also the Enthu cutlet in the family because I think Partho sometimes has to take care of two kids, which is me and Rishit. So he has to kind of say, okay, okay, enough, enough, enough. Now, because we would play music and dance around all the way in the house. So it's absolute madness. It's an asylum, this house is. But it's an absolute blessing. It's an absolute blessing to be just me. And I think the childhood that in my opinion now is the normal childhood that I never had. I had a very different childhood. I think because I had a very different childhood, I have chosen a lifetime of childhood that I choose to be a child and sometimes even a younger, more messier child than my child. So
What's
it's
your
nothing.
favorite pre-concert ritual? Do you have a pre-concert ritual?
Yeah, I want to be alone. I get ready alone, and I love that silence. I I concentrate a lot on my breathing. I try to gather my thoughts and energy, and I think the breathing helps me in doing that. Some certain breathing exercises that I like to do. Yeah, so it's a very spiritual place for me. Before the concert, I it's special, very very special.
When as we are about to come to an end of this conversation, I just wanted to ask that what is the venue that you aspire to sing in?
Ah, there's a concert coming up in November at the Royal Albert Hall. That's something that I'm looking forward to. And I think more than venue, I would like to say that even if I sing for five people who are in the same space, uh, in the same energy space, not musical space, not coming from knowledge and understanding of music, it's the same space as me on a very blessed day, I think I would remember that concert forever. It's not the quantity, it's not the size of the auditorium, it's not the number of people. And the same reason I do not uh, check the numbers on social media, the numbers of hits, because I think for me, 7, 8 people in this entire world, after having lived a life of a public person, I think 7, 8 people matters the most in my life. So whatever I do, I think the most meaningful things are those that I do for those 7, 8 people. So because their smallest validation, their smallest smile, their smallest satisfaction in whatever I do means the world to me. And that is why even if it's a small venue, even if it's a small audience, but I feel that, I feel that they are singing with me and they feel that they are resonating to what is resonating through me, the vibrations, the energies, because we are only mediums. If you give me the biggest auditorium, I can't guarantee my best performance. It has to happen. It's something that I can't do. And that's why it's so humbling. It's not a beautiful performance is not to my credit. A beautiful performance is a beautifully blessed day. And I always pray, and that's what I think, that's why the pre-concert ritual is so important, because if you align your energies to resonate to what wants to vibrate through you, I think you are a good medium for that day. And if that happens, and if that is something that resonates in my audience, um, I don't care as much for the size of the auditorium.
I can only say that the next time you are here in Seattle, my friends have all suggested that you please make a trip to Seattle, and we assure you of that audience that you crave for.
Lovely.
It will all be there for you. Um, Kaushiki, I can just only say that. It's been a fabulous conversation. I've really enjoyed listening to you. And I'm always awestruck by the fact that, it takes me more time to find two different rags on my Spotify playlist than when I ask you to sing. It's just so effortless. And that's the magic that you bring. You just make music seem really easy. And it isn't. Anybody who's tried it.
Very easy, because I remember our conversation when we met in Seattle, and you were talking about learning, and the techniques and ways that we learn. When you talk about that, it seems it seems AI is a very easy thing. It seems like this entire technology that runs the world is such a cakewalk. It's nothing. But when it comes from you, it sounds like that. And I would love to learn more about it, more for myself. I think even more for my son, because he's extremely energetic and kind of inspired, and bubbling with so many things all the time. So it would be wonderful to uh, have an insight to your world, because I think as we grow older, we stop learning. And so there has to be a way to live life where we grow old, because we want to learn more. It's not the end of learning. I think it enhances our power to learn as we grow older. And it has always been such an insightful conversation. Whenever I've spoken to you, I speak a lot. I'm very talkative. I spoke a lot, I guess, and maybe some rubbish as well. So um, but I really, really enjoyed talking to you. And some of the questions were such that even beyond this interview, I'm going to think about those questions.
And let's say that next time we are in the same city, you can cook a meal, and I would love to talk about what little I know. Uh, and that would be incredible. Thank you so much for being there for my audience. It's been just incredible. Thank you. Thank you very much.